Good evening. I'll just give a brief introduction about you to our speakers, and then you can go ahead, take the session, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. A very good evening to all. I'm 𝗡𝗶𝗹𝗍𝗶, Faculty of Department of CSE, AI/ML, Jain deemed to be University. I'm here to welcome you to today's Industry Connect session. Today's session is on AI/ML case studies and industry perspective, and we have a very distinguished guest speaker, Mr. 𝗔𝗜 𝗠𝗟 working as Managing Director at Accenture. He has earned his Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science from MNNIT Allahabad and completed his General Management Program from IIM Calcutta. He has done the certification of Cloud Advisor by Accenture. Mr. 𝗔𝗜 is AWS Certified Account Practitioner by Amazon Web Services. He has worked in many MNCs like IBM, Wipro, and L&T. He has extensive experience in the global IT outsourcing industry and has worked with large organizations in defining and managing business and IT solutions for clients across the globe. Mr. 𝗔𝗜 has deep experiences in multiple dimensions within the IT industry and many specialties like deal shaping, large deal conversions, and many more. Sir, on behalf of the entire Jain deemed to be University family, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you and would like to thank you for taking out your precious hour to be spent among us. Today's audience is the students of BTech AI&ML, and as well as we have a few faculty members of our department too. I would now like to invite sir to take over the session, and thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out on a Saturday evening to listen into this topic. Thanks, Ms. 𝗡𝗶𝗹𝗍𝗶, for the nice introduction here. So, if I have to really contextualize this for this session, there are a couple of things that probably I should highlight. First and foremost, you'd realize that I'm not an AI/ML technical expert here, right? So you don't expect a technical session where we talk about the technical nuances about AI/ML. So what do I bring to the table here? Based on my experiences of being in the industry, delivering, solutioning, selling, and shaping AI/ML kind of opportunities, amongst other opportunities as well. Having interacted with several clients across the globe, I spent quite a good number of years, working with clients closely in different geographies, including North America and Europe. And based on that, what I wanted to share with you today are, the kind of use cases we are seeing. What do we see in the industry? What do we see amongst our clients, right? We have esteemed professors and faculties here, and I request them to feel free to pitch in whenever you so feel to bring in those specific elements that are very closely related to the course itself and the topics that you teach. And please do let me know if any of the things that I'm talking about is off the relevant areas. I will try and keep it as relevant as possible. But again, all I want to share here is my experiences of interacting with clients, what I see from an industry perspective, where is this going, so that you can actually absorb and see where do you need to focus as you go through this course, and start thinking about your own career and see how you want to shape. There are so many areas to specialize, as you all know. You all are greater experts than I am in this space. But so keep thinking as you listen into what I just want to share today. All right. So with that context setting, can I share my screen? I just have just about 3-4 slides, which I'll use as an anchor point.
Yes, sir, you can share.
Okay. Let me. Just let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can. Good to go, sir.
Okay. And I don't know if the participants here have the ability to speak. So feel free to chime in with your reflections, your point of view as well. So if I have to start right up the beginning, what do you think is the biggest challenge that enterprises and businesses are facing today as far as AI and ML users are concerned? Is there any point of view, anything that any one of you want to share?
So they can rise quickly and they can raise their hand so that we can unmute them also, or they can use a chat box to quickly drop their response also.
Okay, I can't see the chat window here, but let me share my perspective of what we see are the biggest challenges as we interact with our clients, right? What we really the kind of investments that are happening around AI and ML, coming up with new models, coming up with new solutions, offerings are not so much of a challenge. When we speak with our clients and we ask them, do you think AI and ML are very important areas for you to invest in? Most of them will say yes, right? Do you invest in these areas? Most of them say yes, we do, right? Especially the large enterprises. So that's not really the challenge. The challenge is, are you realizing the benefits by investing in AI and ML? Now, when you ask that question, then the thing becomes a bit interesting. Some of them say that, yes, we do see in pockets. A very small percentages do say that, yes, we do see the value across the enterprise. So based on our experience and interaction, what we see is that introducing AI ML in their enterprise use cases is not a challenge. Challenge is to scale it. Challenge is to really make it enterprise wide, and actually getting the value around it. So what we call it is value achievement gap. So that's what we see. On the contrary, when we look at, IDC has some, good data points that they have, shared with us. I mean, you can all look up those reports. They believe that enterprises worldwide are expected to invest 85.3 billion on AI solutions in 2021, right? And this spending is expected to grow to almost 204 billion plus at a CAGR of about 24.5% between 2020 and 2025. And in addition to that, worldwide intelligent process automation, is expected to reach 41.6 billion by 2025, growing at a CAGR of about 19% plus between 2020 and 2025. So when you look at these numbers, there's no doubt that this area is going to be very hot. It's already hot. It's going to be really, really, grow. And when we, there are a few other things that we find now. Very small percent, when we do this survey, and we have done some great surveys, several IT companies are, doing this client surveys, right? So what we see is that very small percent, maybe 15 to 20% of the executives feel confident that they had the necessary information and the insights to make this whole informed business decision, especially during this, the pandemic time. Now, apart from that, about more than 80% of the C-level executives believe that they actually won't achieve their business strategies without AI. 75% of them acknowledging that, if they don't do AI and they don't scale AI, they are liable to be, get out smarted by their competition. They may not remain viable as an organization. Now, those are very strong statements. Now, when we look at it, we see that most of the organizations today are at this proof of concept situation. So they have invested in, let's say, some COE in some pockets, more often than not in IT areas. They have made some investments, etc. And some of the other clients, we also see that they are being successful in pockets, but very small percentage of clients, or enterprises can be called true AI scalers, right? They have those organizations who have really industrialized the whole, AI, right? Now, I don't have to probably, it's probably all of you understand that when we talk about AI, they really enable this whole new business value, and speed. They actually improve productivity, reduce cost, they unlock new revenue streams, they open new markets, they help them reimagine their products and services, right? So there's a lot of and some of this successful scalers of AI are achieving those, right? So what are they doing differently, compared to the ones who are not being able to scale enough? So a few things that we see are, most of the scalers, successful AI scalers have a very clearly defined strategy and an operating model to scale AI. So they don't do this randomly. They don't just build a COE in some pockets and which is not part of their mainstream business, so their everyday business goes on, and then those COE tries to do some things on the side, right? So they actually create the right operating model where this whole AI and ML based expertise become part of the mainstream. They all agree that a core data foundation is very crucial. And these days, as most of you know, clients are all sitting on piles of data which they don't know what to do about. Data strategy is more complex than we really think, and we try to solution for that every day for our clients. To get the right data strategy, to ensure that you get the right insights. And when I'm saying insights, it's not those IT insights alone. We are talking about business insights, right? And those successful scalers actually do that job pretty well. The other thing that they do is they, when they talk about driving AI and ML as an important core part of their business, they actually leverage a multidisciplinary team, more like an integrated pods. So if you just try and keep a COE in a firm in some point, in some corner of your organization where you have some AI specialists, that's not good enough. You need to have those multidisciplinary pods where you have participation from others, expertise, other streams, even from business, so that every AI is understood. The power of AI and ML is understood across the enterprise. They understand, the use cases start becoming more and more broad. The breadth increases, right? And the other thing we have seen is that these organizations take the topic of responsible AI very, very seriously. I don't have to explain the concept. You guys are all aware of it. You can always look up, but this is one area that makes a lot of people very jittery, right? So the successful AI scalers actually ensure that they have a right policy in place. They are compliant with any sort of regulations. And again, on the regulation space, things are also evolving, as you all know. But this is a very important topic, and they have a good appreciation of that. And last but not the least, for this clients and these organizations rather, I think the more employees are likely to understand what does AI and ML do to their role. So they don't believe, they don't have certain misconception. And by the way, this misconceptions about, having those smart bots coming and taking over the job from the people are more real than, we think that is. So there is pockets of resistance, etc. Right? So this is where we are. I think we are looking at a tip of an iceberg here. So this is going to grow in a phenomenal way in the coming days. There's this opportunity to grow. The space, the runway is actually there, because most clients are in this top two. They are either doing their proof of concepts or they have done something in pockets, but scaling it is where we are focusing on, because this is where the whole business of AI and ML is, right? So that's very important. Now, where do we go from here? Now, I will talk about a few areas that we believe are going to grow. This is not meant to be exhaustive, and I'm not going to explain each of these concepts in detail, because first, I'm not the expert, as I told you right up front, and secondly, most of you probably understand these concepts anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a few areas and talk about some of these areas that we believe are going to grow. So this is how we think we are going to grow. First and foremost, human plus machine. This is where we are going to go. And as I mentioned to you, there are a lot of misconceptions, but what we believe is that this, machines are not replacing human. It's about coexistence. It's about working together. It's about working side by side. We are talking about, how do we deal with our bot colleagues? How do we, what should be the HR policies around the bot colleagues? How do we ensure, when we talk about human colleagues, we talk about, my team members, we talk about how do we ensure that we keep them, their skills up to the date, right? We upskilling, cross-skilling, all that we talk about. We started talking about upskilling, cross-skilling, all that in the context of our bot colleagues as well. So very soon we are going to see that there are going to be very more structured policies around, machines and bots, super smart, robots, which are going to, work hand in hand with us. And we are already seeing that in different functional areas, right? Now, what we, there is this again a data point where it says by 2026, 85% of the enterprises will combine human expertise with AI, ML, NLP, and things like pattern recognitions, to start building and augmenting their, what they call foresight, right, across the organization. And that should drive at least 25% greater productivity for their colleagues, for their human employees. So I think we are seeing more use cases, where human and machines are working together than human, or machines humans getting replaced by machines, etc. While today I'm here in my personal capacity, I'm not representing Accenture as a firm here, but our group chief executive for technology, Paul Doherty, actually published a book on human plus machines. I recommend all of you to kind of check that out. I mean, it's a very interesting book. It talks about our core belief in having a world where human and machine will work together. Humans will find the right value. They will actually find the right set of values that they need to focus on, as opposed to be doing things that machine can do. So now, what is happening in this area also is that the inability to discover the next new thing quickly, that's a huge shortcoming that are faced by companies today across multiple industries, actually, especially in retail, in medicine, materials, and consumer goods, and all these areas. So as AI actually becomes more and more pervasive across various industries, functional areas, and use cases, human expertise is being now combined with this whole artificial intelligence to augment the organizational planning, and those predictions that I talked about. And I'll give you an easy example to go through how we are looking at some of the use cases that are becoming more and more commonplace today. Technologies such as machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, NLP, pattern recognition, knowledge graphs, and all those things are producing increasingly accurate and context-aware insights, right? Predictions and recommendations. And when these are made available at all levels of an organization, every employee now can bring their individual expertise to bear on the AI-powered recommendation. And that is, so this is another very interesting one, right? So for example, sometimes we have some very intelligent insights and recommendation model that we have, within our firm that we kind of leverage, and we can't just send those to our clients straight away. I mean, in some cases, yes, but in many cases, we then need to look at those and sometimes contextualize. Sometimes we enhance and augment those based on our understanding of the domain, the industry, etc., which actually results in better prediction. With improved ability to react to the expected or unexpected events or decision making that is required, which of course helps in satisfying customers, partners, and others. So I don't want to spend more time on it, but I really want to highlight that try and spend time on understanding the edges between human and machine interaction. Those edges are where maximum developments, maximum work will happen, right? So focus on that interaction points, and that interaction point, that area is going to evolve very fast. The second interesting area is this what we see as the multimodal codeless automation platform, right? Now, if you most of you are aware that most of the business automation, etc., right, business process automation, etc., are being done through RPA technology, right, robotic process automation. Now, while that has been most prevalent, in the meanwhile, individual automation technologies, right, such as codeless workflow, business application development, application integration, intelligent document processing, IDP tasks, and process mining, all that are progressively becoming more and more accessible to a new audience of users, and even non-professional developers through cloud offerings and by making studio environments, etc., much easier. So now this whole codeless platforms are ensuring that you in future you may not be over reliant on those advanced nerdy developers alone. What will happen is you'll see that people will be more and more they will have options available for them to easily configure things and do things on their own, right? Now, of course, there are aspects of it that we see that give rise to shadow IT and all those issues, right? Shadow IT is typically the ones that we say business apart from the core IT organization, each business or each line of business tend to have their own little things going on the IT side, right? So those challenges are going to be there, but that's a different topic. But we are seeing that this whole codeless and codeless platform is becoming very, very important. And this codeless techniques, they include things like graphical flow-based design, point-and-click configurations, pre-packaged automation actions, AI and IDP models that I talked about, and even access to deep catalogs of your third-party APIs, etc. Now the strategy, what is the strategy then? The strategy is is aimed at pulling together a platform or a portfolio that combines diverse types of this automation technologies to create what again advisors like IDC call multimodal automation platforms, which support end-to-end automation, process improvement, application developments, and by using this appropriate technology, where they all fit into this single unified platform. So we are actually going to see this kind of multimodal codeless automation quite pervasive in the coming days. Over the next few years, at least, this whole multimodal expansion will continue, and it'll converge with a very business-friendly form of codeless development, etc. So that's the second area which is coming up quite clearly. The third important area that I want to talk about is the breadth of these use cases are going up pretty much every day, right? What IDC predicts again is by 2024, some 60% of the G2000 organizations will expand the use of AI/ML across all business critical horizontal functions, such as marketing, legal, HR, procurement, supply chain, logistics, and stuff like that. So while today, if you look at it, AI is still primarily utilized for IT, cybersecurity, engineering, and production, etc. What we're seeing is that it's gradually seeping into more business critical functions such as marketing, legal, HR, procurement, logistics, etc. And the cost and availability of sophisticated machine learning models, etc., providing this organization with the ability to kind of monitor, analyze, control. I'll again give you an example of how this is being done. But this broadening of the use case is actually very encouraging. There are multiple examples, right? AI can be used in procurement for spend analysis, for contract management, strategic sourcing, right? And then there are several others, and I'll call out a few as we go. But very, very interesting time when we are seeing new, and we are also trying to we as in my company as well as many of our similar companies are working and investing a lot in trying to come up with use cases in other areas as well, right? Including digital marketing campaigns. I know how in certain cases, like when a new, let's say, mobile company which is launching a new model, in anticipation of that, so their AI engine, actually the marketing campaigns actually is quite reliant on certain AI and machine learning based engines which predict the kind of increase in the load that is going to be there on their own portals. They also do very good customer segmentation based on predictive analytics to say where should they focus on, where should the targeted campaigns happen, which particular kind of segment of customers should they focus on, how is that changing. So there's a lot going on, as you all know, right? The other interesting area is business disruption prediction, right? Now, this is of course based on, and not every organization is ready to actually do this today, but this is one area which is coming up really, really fast. There's a lot of work happening in limited ways. We are actually implementing this for our clients, right? And a very essential foundational step for this is process mining. And again, advisors like IDC, etc., they say that about 35% of the enterprises that adopt this process mining as a controlling layer for end-to-end business processes by, let's say, another couple of years or so, they will be at least 20% more profitable than their peers. So what happens is we first try to mine the process layer and we understand the end-to-end process layer. And then we actually create a straight through, KPI or key process performance indicator, all the way from process layer to apps layer to infrastructure layer. And instead of just trying to monitor and manage a particular infrastructure server going down and alerts around server going down or an application getting into bottlenecks, we then map this back to the process layer and try and then build, through machine learning, try and get a lot of those, insights, and then try to build predictive models. So there is a, there's a lot of work happening there, and the results, even at a, for example, for a client, let's say a particular, let's say CRM application goes down, and when that CRM application goes down, it impacts their businesses significantly, right? Now, with this predictive models that are coming up, we can actually predict, in advance, with a great, accuracy, right? When I'm saying great accuracy, we are talking about something in the range of 88 to 90, 92, 93, 94% accuracy. We see that we are able to predict a failure at least 15 to 20 minutes or even 30 minutes in advance. And obviously, the accuracy, our ability to predict, it goes up when we shorten the time, right? So when it comes to 15 minutes ahead, the accuracy also goes up. Imagine a situation, right? There's this whole mining firm, right? The minerals company. A particular truck is waiting, near one of their mines to, load the truck and then, move it to a nearby factory where, further processing will happen. And as simple as invoicing system on SAP goes down, right? So invoices cannot be generated. Imagine the impact of that. Because the invoice is not generated, the truck can't move, they can't get out of that premise. The factories, their utilization goes down, and of course this has its own, cascading effects, right? Now, what if I can map the IT systems back to the specific processes, identify and do a heat map and create, identify the most critical processes, the processes which if they fail, they will have a significant, a disruption to the whole business, and start predicting and preventing, and then even self-healing when I can identify, the whole thing becomes seamless. And this is not stories now anymore. We are doing this to certain extents. I won't say that this has reached its most sophisticated level yet, but this whole prediction model, etc., becoming very, very business process disruption is the future. I mean, this is where a lot of work will happen, and services organizations like us will invest a lot in trying to build in partnership with a lot of other. And when I'm saying this, I'm really also touching upon this other, ML ops, AI ops area, right? And again, ML ops, as most of you know, that this is this capability actually enables the enterprises to operationalize their machine learning pipelines, enabling them to run multiple machine learning models in production at scale, right? And so what we see is that in next 2 to 3 years, most enterprise organizations, the large ones at least, will have operationalized their machine learning workflows, through this whole ML ops and model ops capabilities, to be able to run this model securely and at scale, right, with greater confidence and responsibility. So that's where we are seeing things are moving significantly, right? And again, AI enabled this whole digital transformation again drives extreme requirements for scalability, reliability, etc. And AI ops leveraging AI ML and analytic capabilities can actually simplify and automate key IT operational management functions, which can address many of these requirements, right? Of scalability, reliability, performance, and satisfying end user expectations, etc. So this area again, and I'll subsequently give you some examples of how this area is coming out. But again, this whole key operational capabilities, right? To be AI infusing these capabilities, including predictive intelligence, incident prevention, troubleshooting, event correlation, reduction of incidents. So you actually, so for example, for certain clients, you can actually ensure that 60 to 70% of the incidents are internally logged by machines themselves and fixed. When a self-heal scripts are available, bots are available, they're automatically fixed. So users don't even get to know. So that's where things are moving. The other important place is where there's a lot of use cases coming up is conversational AI, right? So over the past about 12 to 18 months, more and more organizations are deploying conversational AI applications into productions. And most of these AI applications are, as you would imagine, right, they're more focused around customer service, customer care, but human resources, even sales and marketing in many cases, right? And insurance, etc. I see some good use cases coming up, in sales enablement and focused marketing campaigns, etc. Now, this, of course, as you all know, that this whole NLP and speech to text and natural language generation, all that has developed significantly over the last few years. Now, this conversational AIs come with sentiment analysis, so they know when the particular interaction is not going the right way, and they can always escalate to their human colleagues to take care of things, etc. They're all increasingly getting driven by deep learning models. Very, very interesting space again, and a lot of work happening, a lot of use cases coming up from an industry standpoint. I think this adoption of conversational AI will be quite pervasive. Right now it is in certain specific areas, but this will be quite pervasive as well. The other area that is, I think that is a little complex, but I think the next two topics that I'm going to touch upon are slightly more complex. I think it's all climate hazards assessments and prediction. I think this is one of the area where a lot of investments are happening. People realize that significant amount of investments in neural networks, powered climate hazard prediction, assessments, adaptation, prediction, all that is going to be very, very crucial. I think this is one area we are not doing a great job as far as at least the application part of it is, it's still it needs to go a long way. But one area there, I think if there's one area where a lot of investment happening, I think this is one area, and we should by again, it may not happen in next 2 years, but in next 3 to 4 to 5 years, we are going to see a lot of important developments happening. A lot more reliable predictions are going to happen, and use cases are phenomenal, right? I mean, there can be like a government may want to understand and seek to make more targeted investments, to bolster its country's specific, infrastructure areas when they know that certain weather situations are going to happen, right? A bank might want to, understand that, what is the expected impact of increased hurricane activity on a property damage, right? When they're trying to look at their overall real estate loan portfolio, right? So their use cases are enormous, and then I think this is one area a lot of work will happen. The other area that are coming up very, very, especially in the wake of pandemic, this one area I'm seeing are becoming more and more, and Gartner's, IDC, all those advisors are talking a lot about it. This is Internet of Behavior and how it helps enable composable business. And let me explain this a little bit, right? You know that there is this whole IoT, this whole data, the enormous amount of data that we are now gathering and processing on at the edge, right, is significant. Now, what is happening is, yes, a lot of data gets, because we have great sensors, we have, advancement in computer vision and all that thing. So a lot of data, for let's say an energy client, right, an oil and gas company, there are so many applications there for the offshore, in the drilling wells, etc., right, ensuring that they're monitoring every equipment and they're able to, gather the data, quickly process it on the cloud, of course, right? And so that part is good. So that those analytics are happening. A lot of machine learning algorithms are getting used. A lot of analytics coming out. Some predictive models are getting created, which are helping with all those predictive maintenance, etc. So that part is fantastic. But beyond that, what is happening is now businesses are starting to analyze and capture those data and trying to see what does it mean to me from a business standpoint. How is my consumers' behavior changing? How is my, the devices that I'm monitoring? So they are trying to go beyond just those, tactical, challenges or monitoring aspects of, a particular machine or a particular device or a particular, element, but they're trying to see how the behavior around the consumption, that part is changing. And how can we get that fed into our business strategy in a real-time fashion? And that's what we call about composable business. I think Gartner has a good point of view on composable business. So it's basically almost like that Lego kind of a thing. So there are building blocks of a business, and how can we quickly arrange them in a different way? So my focus, my strategy around businesses change. I quickly can get into a new revenue stream. I remember there's one pharmaceutical company which had a very composable business architecture. And when this whole pandemic was rising, they realized in certain pockets in the markets, the behavioral aspect of consumers, the buying patterns, there's the products they're selling more, etc., are changing. And they had the the IT infrastructure, the architecture in place, which could quickly sense and create certain meaningful business insight, which said, you know what, going forward, certain products will sell a lot more. And it could be things like even masks, for example, right? So they could, in a very short span of time, they could quickly mobilize, because the whole organizational architecture is such that they could remain agile despite their size. And they could quickly mobilize and started investing, putting more money into certain areas, building certain products, increase capacity of certain factories where those products are getting created. That's a phenomenal area. And especially in today's world, if you can build a composable business architecture, you actually are going to thrive even in difficult environments such as this pandemics, etc. And this is what the trend we are seeing. And AI and ML are going to be at the heart of that. They will be at the front and center of that. What we need are use cases where we identify those behavioral aspects and feed them back real time into the business strategy, decision making process. So you feed those into boardroom, in a, almost like a near real time manner. So that area I think is going to be very, very important. And of course, the other one, computer vision, facial analytics, etc. We have spoken. I think on this particular topic, especially facial analytics, I think this whole responsible AI becomes very, very important. And as we speak, I think many countries are coming up with very specific regulations, regulatory policies. Europe, I think, is slightly ahead of United States in that sense. United States, we see that organized large enterprises want to have self-regulation as opposed to government-regulated policies. But this space is going to, I think, evolve further. Asia, I think the maturity of those policies are still in a bit of a nascent stage. But I think more and more we're going to see this space coming up. But this whole computer vision and facial analytics as a space is also going to be significant, and there the potential to bring some real value, right, in businesses like retail, healthcare, financial services, marketing is enormous. So let me take a quick example of not too far, right? I mean, just some of the solutions that our clients are using today, right? So in earlier days, what used to happen at least on the IT front, right? The different assets were being monitored, right? And those assets were being monitored, and they would be, some those, when an incident happens or some issues happen, people will try and fix those issues, a bit more reactive. But now, we are seeing this concepts of integrated command centers, right? Which is powered by this AI and machine learning engines, which is actually the heart and center, the heart of this whole this thing, right? These command centers not only collect the feeds from all types of assets. Those assets are no more just looking at the servers. They are looking at the servers. They're looking at the applications. They're looking at the business processes, right? They even look at social media and all sorts of sources, and then they collect this data. Then they have the aggregation layer, which kind of aggregates, and there is a correlation engine that is built, which kind of correlates all those multiple events coming. I mean, I'll give you a small example. For one of the large organization, there were certain very minor issues happening in 4 different parts of the world. They had a center in Chile, they had a center in Perth in Australia, they had a center in India and Singapore and in London. Now, in each one of those areas, there were some very minor issues happening around certain parts of their application. For the sake of discussion, let's say this is let's say invoice processing process. Now, those were typically in an IT world, those would be P4, priority 4 tickets, minor issues. Maybe some slowing down happening here, some slowing down happening there. On a normal world, those will completely go unnoticed. But because that client had a very robust AI and ML based correlation engine in place, they could correlate all those alerts coming in, and they realize, oh my God, there is a major disruption that's going to happen. This particular system, invoice processing system, is going to come down because they are significantly underpowered in terms of the capacity that is there. Now, imagine the world where there is a solution where this correlation engine actually identified it. As you can see here, this central part in the AIML engine, they immediately checked, do I have a self-healing script available to actually enhance the capacity of the underlying servers for those applications or those processes? And if those bots are available, those self-heal bots are available, they automatically execute that, and that problem and the major catastrophe is averted. So that's where we are seeing the applications happening, and this is happening today. Now, this is, again, if you see here, it's not only preventive, it is predictive, because they are able to correlate and predict that, okay, in next 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 2 hours, the system is going to go down. So they are predicting it, and then they are resolving it in a touchless manner, right? Using the whole self-healing bots. Now, on the other side, the bottom part, if you see here, the users nowadays are talking to those conversational, several organizations call it in different manners. Let's call them experience bots. Because they're not only conversational bots, but they actually create this whole experience. So when they speak with the users, they talk, of course, in natural language. They understand. They can talk 50+ languages. They understand the problem. They actually are capable of operating that AI/ML engine that I'm talking about. The whole automated ticket resolver engine, which is underlying this whole platform, this bots can actually operate that, and automatically, again, in the same process, the user talked about a problem, identify the problem, understand what they're saying, converse back, operate the engine at the back end, self-heal, go back and say, sir, your problem is solved. Can you check? And they also have the sentiment analysis I was talking about. So when they see that the directions are not going, discussions are not going in the right direction, they're not able to solve the problem, or maybe that self-heal bot for that particular problem is not available, they can actually invoke a human colleague who can then get into this. They also get supported by virtual agents which are available for them to help with that, right? Virtual agents such as data scientist, project manager, or there are several such virtual agents that are available, which today human support teams are using. So this is where the whole world is going. And I know we are almost on time, so I just want to I'm not going to drain this, but in each one of this industry, we see a significant number of use cases which are getting created, driven. This space is absolutely coming up. My request to all of you here is, while you understand the underlying technology, learn about it, but don't lose sight of the so what aspect of it. So what? I mean, if I have built a particular predictive model, if I have built a particular ML based algorithm, what is the application? How is it going to make a difference in the real world, in the real industries, to the large enterprises, to the smaller enterprises? How is that going to make a difference? Never lose sight of that part. I think this is what kind of creates a difference between the successful professionals versus someone who is technically strong but lack that particular real world skill or the real world application skill. So with that, I'll just end here. I know I've taken all the time, but if there are any reflections or any concluding comments from anyone, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I know we didn't have much time for questions today, but happy to take anything.
Students have an option to unmute themselves now.
Thank you for that wonderful session on the multitude of industrial application of AI and ML, sir. I'm sure that this has been a really helpful session for our students. Hello, I'm Dr. 𝗶𝗶𝗍𝗶, faculty member at Department of CSE, AI and ML and Cybersecurity, Jain deemed to be University. Now, let's move on to the Q&A session. If you have questions for our resource person, you can ask them now.
I know there has been a lot of information overload today, so maybe it'll take the time to digest. But yeah, if there are any immediate questions, we can talk about it, or else you can always find me and reach out to me. You can actually reach out to any one of the faculties here, and I'll be happy to respond back offline.
So if there is such a wide application, and as you see, the future will be AI dominated, how do you think the data gathering and data processing systems need to be?
Yeah, I think good question there, Akash. I think this whole, firstly, where we think, I think there is more work happening, and I think today with the development in neural networks, etc., the comprehension of unstructured data is becoming more and more sophisticated. I think that is one area where the data gathering engine needs to seamlessly be able to collect the right data, filter out the noise, because especially when you know how it is, right? If you are monitoring or gathering data from social media or even from edge devices, right? There's a lot of noise that comes in. So filtering that out, making sense of it, and then the correlation engine working on top of it, and then the entire insights engine, which not only talks about the technical insight, but connecting it back to the business process insight, right? They're actually helping the board in a boardroom to take those important business decision with those foresight. That's where I think the whole development needs to happen. And it all starts with a very sophisticated data gathering and aggregation correlation engine at the bottom. Does it make sense, Akash?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, so can you talk about the lack of computing power in AIs, because they are very much power hungry and many small case business models can't implement the AI in their works?
Yeah, I agree that it's a lot of computing power is required. I think with cloud computing, etc., becoming pervasive, I see that the whole computing cost is coming down every day. There are different models, business models for those, hyperscalers, right? Like Amazon and Google and Microsoft of the world, Azure of the world, where they have different business models for smaller businesses, medium businesses, or large enterprises. I don't foresee that to be a huge challenge in the coming days. I think you'll have more on-demand computing power being available more and more in the coming days. I think the hardware part is not going to be that big a problem. The problem will be the applications, the algorithms developed on top of it, the whole sophistication around the predictive models, etc. That is where I think the challenges are going to be. But I appreciate the point that yes, these are very power hungry, and there are new areas coming up. Right now, we are talking about Python actually generating more heat in the machines compared to Java, right? So these are all very sustainability is now coming into the whole mix. So you need to be very judicious about how much of computing power do you want to consume through your programming. So all these aspects coming in, evolving space, but going to be important. Any other questions? Look, I'm very excited, about the future around AI and ML. I really congratulate all of you for choosing the right path. Just keep the big picture in mind. That's my only suggestion. I mean, I'm myself a computer science and engineering graduate, and several, more than 2 decades ago, AI was the topic even then, but you can imagine how it has evolved from there to today. So I think one thing I've learned is as a student, if I can continuously keep the focus around application, around impact to the business, impact to the to the humans, to the real world, that will give you a very different perspective. You look at the same program, same code, but in a very different way. So that's my only request, that keep that perspective, never lose that perspective. Sometimes the technology becomes so exciting, it's so mind-boggling, and many of us, we started our career with programming, whichever technology that is, sometimes this whole the whole space becomes very all-consuming. But in the end, we need to be very clear about what are we doing it for, what's the so what, the big picture.
So if you don't have any more questions, let's wind up this session. I appreciate and thank the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AIML and Cybersecurity and Future and Technologies for organizing the Industry Connect program for our students. This is indeed a remarkable project which would definitely support our students in learning the pulse of the industrial arena. We are really glad that today we could listen to the wisdom of such a seasoned industry expert like Mr. Ниladri Chakrabarty. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and talking to our students. I thank Dr. 𝗶𝗶, the head of the Department of Computer Science Engineering in Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning and Cybersecurity, for constantly supporting and encouraging the team to do everything possible for the best of the students. I also thank our team of faculty members, which never ceases to strive for the upliftment of our students. Dear students, thanks for participating in this session. So be assured that many more such sessions will be conducted for you. Make use of all of them. Okay, as you can see in the chat box, there is a link to fill a survey form. Please fill the survey form before you leave. And our first year students are requested to stay back in the same link. Your Python classes will be conducted now. So thanks to everyone for joining the session. Let's call it a day. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.